Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Real Pod. I'm super excited for today's episode because today's guest is someone that I have been crossing paths with in this industry for such a long time now. She's always so bubbly, so kind, so enthusiastic and talkative. I feel like we have similar energies, which I love. Her name is Monica Ravichandran, and she is a first-generation Indian Gen Z beauty creator who creates viral videos about her fun makeup looks, her expertise in color theory, and was actually one of the very first people on the hashtag brown girl makeup trend on TikTok. Her wedding is coming up any day now, so we are going to dive all into that today. It's a really great conversation because Monica is talking about the absolute no's, the absolute must-haves, the boundaries she set about her wedding with her family. I thought this was such a healthy conversation and a good glimpse into what boundaries look like, even when it's uncomfortable. So you're going to love hearing that all from Monica. Stay tuned for that. Monica's also here to celebrate her collaboration with Mob Beauty. She's created her perfect red lip. It was this really cool journey she went on online where she was talking about how a red lip looks different on all different skin tones. And she wanted to find the red lip that looked best for her, which I believe she wants to wear on her wedding day, which is so exciting. And if you watch Real Pod on YouTube, you'll get to see her lip color in action. And of course, we're going to dive into mental health, therapy, building a healthy relationship, and so much more. So without further ado, please help me welcome bride-to-be, fabulous, outstanding beauty creator, Monica Ravichandran. Okay, Monica, welcome to Real Pod.
Thank you. Super excited to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. I can't believe you haven't been on more shows because you're so talkative and bubbly, and I think this would be your thing.
Well, I mean, this is my first one. I'm really excited, and I'm definitely a yapper. So if you need me to stop yapping.
Yeah, I feel like the times we've met, even at like rare beauty events, I feel like our energy is very similar.
Yeah.
I sometimes feel like I like talk so much and I'm very enthusiastic and I'm really bubbly. And so I feel like safe when I'm with someone who has that same energy because I don't feel like, oh, I have to like tone myself down. Do you ever feel that way?
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like sometimes, I think the hardest conversations are when it actually feels like an interview. So I feel like, especially like when you're actually interviewing someone.
Yeah.
And then if there's no back and forth, it can feel stiff.
Totally,
Right?
totally. I'll have times where I'm like, this would be an amazing topic and this person's really smart, but it's just like so hard to talk to them. I feel like people can experience that in general when you just meet people you work with or whatnot. So how have you been? Your wedding is coming up. You just launched a really exciting collab. Like she's booked and busy.
I know it's honestly been really crazy, but also rewarding at the same time. I think the hardest part is the wedding is 3 days and it's 2.5 cultures. Like I'm Indian, but my fiance is Irish American and his dad is like an immigrant from England. So like he's Irish, but he's from England. So we're trying to like incorporate all these cultures and trying to make everyone happy. That's been the hardest part, I think, for me. But I think we're down to 25 days at this point, 20 days. And I'm excited and also a little tired. So.
You're like, at this point, it is what it is. It will be what it will be.
Yeah.
How have you been making those decisions? Like trying to make everyone happy, which is crazy because it's like just you two should be happy, right? But the reality is there's way more people involved than that.
This is really cheesy, but right when we got engaged literally December of 2023, which is insane. But I kind of wanted a long engagement so that way I could kind of plan this because I kind of knew like my parents are divorced and they remarried and
what?
Yeah, so I have like four parents, so to say, and everyone kind of like, and they're all very like
they remarried other people.
Yeah, sorry.
I thought you said
no. Oh my god, you're totally good. Yeah, but my parents remarried other people.
Yeah,
and now there's 4 people involved in the process, along with Chris's parents too. That was a reason we wanted like a longer engagement because I kind of wanted to like take the time to like understand what everyone wanted and try my best to incorporate what everyone wanted. But as I mentioned, the cheesy part was like, I guess you could call it cheesy or smart, in my opinion, was that really early on, I literally wrote down a list of things I'm not giving up. I'm like, we're going to have 100 to 150 people max. I don't want a 500 people wedding. I don't want people there who I like literally have never heard of in my life, right? Especially weddings are so expensive nowadays, especially in California and I'm not a bajillionaire and it was a budget issue, but as well as I just didn't want people I just did not know at all at the wedding. So those were like the main things. I was like, these are things I'm not compromising on. And additionally, the reason we have 3 days is because the Saturday is like the Indian Hindu ceremony, and then Sunday is the Irish American, like somewhat Catholic ceremony. I'm saying somewhat Catholic because Chris is Catholic, but I'm not, so we can't have a sacramental ceremony is I think what it's called, and we're also not doing it at church. So that's a whole thing that I've had to learn myself that I'm not great at. But it's been a really fun process, and it's been kind of like also getting to know a lot about myself too. I feel like I definitely opened a can of worms that I did not realize. And you're married too,
I
right?
am, yeah.
I'm curious to know like even like what your experience was like and even your wedding planning process. Like how did that go?
Yeah, so our 3-year anniversary is actually next week, which is crazy.
Oh, that's
But I look back and like I'm my parents' only daughter. They're the quintessential, like always dreamed of their daughter's wedding type people. And we're Greek and really
Mhm.
family oriented. And I was young. Like there is such a difference. How old are you?
I'm 27.
Okay,
Mhm.
from 25 to even 27. I'm 28 now, but
Mhm.
when you're 25 versus when you're like getting closer to 30, I just think you're just in such a different place. And I think, yeah, I was just more like, I don't know, willing to be guided. My mom was super involved,
Mhm.
which I'm really grateful for. And I know that's not the case for everyone. Like, I felt like my mom was kind of the wedding planner, which like had its hiccups, but then also had its like major blessings. I do think I would have been lost without her at times. But, I think that at the end of the day, there's so many expectations on what the wedding planning process should be like. So then brides bring so much judgment to like, this was supposed to be the happiest time of my life. It was supposed to all be butterflies and rainbows, and it's not. But that's everyone. Like everyone has something happen. I'm a maid of honor for my best friend right now, and something happened, and we were like, oh, there's the family drama. Like, there's like literally, like you're like,
Yeah.
oh, it won't be me,
There's
and
the
they're like,
family
nope,
drama.
here's
Yep.
the weirdness. It just happens.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, and I also think like everyone wants something different. And when my family, like we always call them like cooks, like everyone is a cook.
Like they're in the kitchen.
Yeah, everyone is a cook in the kitchen. Like, let me put it that way. And sometimes it's great because we have like great ideas. And like, I got to go to India with my mom, and like, I've not been back to India since I was 13. So that was a really special experience. And I got to actually get my wedding clothing from India too. And it was just a really great experience to kind of connect with my culture and be there with her. But at the same time, like, I've not also been with my mom in a place for that long since before they got divorced. So there was definitely like a little bit like some squabbles here and there, but
Mhm.
like I almost think healthy squabble can kind of like make you stronger as long as you kind of move past it, right? And you also get to know yourself more. And I'm actually really proud of myself for putting my foot down on things that I really, really do want and really feel like at the end of the day, like I want to make people happy, but I have to stick true to who I am and who my values are.
Mhm.
And might be controversial, but another
Tell
like
us.
kind of thing that I did was I was like, I don't want anyone at my wedding with substance abuse issues. I just felt that there were some people in my family who were like healing from like problems like in their life, and that was like a big foot that I put down. And unfortunately I had to not invite close family members who had issues that way, not because I didn't like them, and I pray for like their healing and the rehabilitation, but I just did not feel like being at a wedding with tons of alcohol was like a place to kind of help that, if that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Yeah. And do those people know and accept that they have issues, or was it an awkwardness where they're like, "What are you talking about?" Kind of that.
Yeah, it
That's
was,
tough because it's one
yeah.
thing if someone's like in rehab or they're like working on it and they could maybe be in a place to accept, but it's an incredibly hard decision, but I can totally understand and see your side of like how triggering, disruptive it can be to this day. You've put so much time, money, and energy in for like someone to drink too much or do
Mhm.
too many drugs and then cause a whole scene or ruin something.
Yeah, that was a really hard decision. And again, like I have nothing but love for these people. And I really do hope that things get better. But like weddings are really expensive, and leave the money aside of things. It's supposed to be a celebration. I didn't want like anything bad to happen that like ruined the day for not even just me, like my parents, Chris's parents were combining like two families and two cultures, and it's supposed to be really empowering. and it's special for all of us. And I just want it to go as smoothly as possible.
Mm-hmm.
That's like as simple as that. And in fact, this is controversial too. We are not allowing any kids at our wedding, which is for Indian
I don't
culture
think that's
like
that
huge.
controversial. Okay, maybe for Indian culture, and I'm
Yeah.
obviously unaware of that, but
Did
I
you have
get
kids
it.
at your wedding?
I did, but we have a very select like amount of kids. It was like a singular number, so I didn't feel like, you know, that made it okay. But I love them. At one point, I'm like, get off the dance floor. Like, get off the dance floor. I'm like, okay, it's so cute. Someone pick him up and move him.
Yeah.
It's fun. You know, it wasn't a huge distraction, but like I can totally see it's so small. But yeah, if there's crying or there's a whole kids table, or you lose the attention of the parents who you love so much and you want them to like be there for you, and now they're like babysitting their kids, you know, it nets out differently for everyone. And I think at the end of the day, we just have to respect someone's wishes.
Yeah, no, and it was hard because I have friends and business people I work with and my own like family friends who have kids, and a lot of them couldn't make it because they couldn't find babysitters. But again, I wanted this to be a place where like things just went well. And I'm someone who has really high anxiety. And I'm not saying that kids ruin things. Like I love kids. Like I want to have kids one day. Like that's not like the problem. It's more so like I just want to make sure that everything goes to like the way it's planned, because we're running on like a schedule that is like teed up to 5 minutes, which is crazy. But it was definitely a really hard decision to make. Thankfully, we also did not have too many people who like had kids. And the only person we had to make an exception for was Chris's sister, who just had a baby like a couple months ago. So, and she's a part of the wedding.
She's literally family.
Yeah, she's family. So we like so her baby's coming. But for the most part, like we're not, yeah. And I didn't think it was controversial, but I made a video being like things I'm not doing at my wedding. And that video went so viral. And like there's thousands of comments arguing about like kids. And something else that was controversial was I said a lot of people give me a lot hard time for marrying like someone who's white, like he's Irish American. I'm Indian, and being in an interracial relationship, it's definitely been an interesting thing to navigate, I would say. The thing I did not realize the most, especially from being a content creator, is that like the comment that I get a lot is like, oh, like it's not very brown girl friendly dating a white guy or marrying a white guy. And I remember in that video, I had kind of addressed that. And I was just like, I was things I'm not doing at my wedding. I'm not marrying an Indian guy. It was supposed to be a joke. But then the entire comment section was like,
no, we
was
can't
like,
laugh
what the
these
heck?
days.
Yeah.
We've lost humor, sadly.
Yeah. And I specifically said right after that, I was just like, what matters the most is how that person treats you and if that person respects you. Because that's the most important part. When I was like dating, I was really looking for someone who respected me, respected my culture. I don't care if they were part of my culture. I think what people were really arguing about in the comments was that I specifically said, like, I didn't mind dating or marrying someone outside of my religion, which I didn't think that was like I didn't think that was as much of a big thing. And everyone has their own preferences. But to me, I don't care what religion, I didn't care what ethnicity, I didn't care what skin color. It's like, is that person treating me well? Are we compatible? And do we have similar life goals? Right? Like those are the three things that I look at, because my parents are divorced and it was not the nicest divorce. So when I decided that I wanted to get into a relationship and start dating, I knew I wanted to take it very intentionally. So literally on the first date, Chris and I basically assessed compatibility kind of before we like fell in love, which is kind of weird because I feel like you fall in love and then you decide if like this is a person for you. But we did the opposite. We were like, how many kids do you want to have? Like, how do you feel about your mom on the first date? And usually that would make men run, but actually Chris was like here for it. And we don't want to waste each other's time.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish more dating was like that, you know, because I feel like we end up in this situationship thing because they're not intentional about dating. Mm-hmm. They don't know what they want. I think Chris and I both knew what we want. I know this is a whole other topic.
Yeah.
But
well, I'm curious, how did having divorced parents like change the way you approach thinking about marriage? Did you have times in your life where you thought, I don't know if I want to get married?
Yeah. Oh my God. I feel like having divorced parents has been definitely difficult to navigate. Also, this is another interesting topic, but because divorce in South Asian culture is a really big taboo. And it's funny because South Asians in general will be proud of the fact that like their divorce rate is so low. But a lot of times, like the divorce rate is so low because a lot of women in these relationships are just kind of accepting domestic violence and abuse. And I'm not saying that's what happened with my family. My parents were just not compatible. It's simple. My dad is 8 years older than my mom, and they were unhappy for a really long amount of time, and I'm actually really proud of them that they made the decision that this was not the right relationship to be. And honestly, I think the most healing part was that they both remarried, and they both remarried people who were right for them. So I think part of me was like broken when they got divorced. It was really a really hard time for sure, because they got divorced when I was 18, so I was a little bit older, and I feel like I understood that it needed to happen, but it was also like not easy. I had to work through a lot of abandonment issues, which I think also surfaced in my relationships too. I feel like I had severe anxious attachment and a lot of anxiety when it came to relationships, and I definitely had to put in a lot of work to kind of like heal that. But that only happened after my previous relationship. So like the relationship before Chris, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then that relationship was so traumatizing for me that I had to really take a look inside and be like, what inside me is kind of attracted someone like that person.
Yeah.
Right.
Did you go to therapy? How did you did?
Yeah.
And what would you say was like the thing you learned? Like, I thought if A equaled B, C would happen.
That's a really good question. I feel like the most important thing that I learned is you can only control what you can control. Right. So like I feel like a lot of times like I'm like, why did he do that? Or like, I can't believe this happened. And what's interesting is a lot of people go to like cognitive behavioral therapy. And I think I did for a while and that worked for a bit, but I actually really like narrative therapy. And narrative therapy centers around like changing the narrative of like the occasion or like the occurrence of what happened and putting you as the main character. I almost see it as like main character therapy. Instead of that's happening to you, it's kind of like you are the one who's in control and in charge. And once I could take agency over my life, I was able to change my own narrative. That's as simple as that.
Can you give me an example of like how you thought about it and then with narrative therapy, how you changed your thinking about it?
Ooh, I feel like the hardest part that I was getting over, that one ended really not in the best way. And I think there were things in that relationship where it was just like, why? And I don't feel comfortable enough to share kind of like what happened there because it was really bad. But a lot of times, like, I remember just dwelling on the fact, like, how could he do this to me? He's such a horrible person. I kind of go on this train of thought of like, why can't I do better? Or like, I kept spiraling on like, I'm never going to find someone. I'm the problem. And then I feel like going to therapy with my therapist back in San Francisco, the biggest thing that she kind of told me about that is like, I can't change who he is. Right. Like, and he showed me who he was, and I know who I am. Right. So, by kind of changing that narrative on like, okay, instead of this is focusing on like who he is, I need to focus on what I want. Right. Like, he was a bad person, like, not the best human being. But instead of like, oh, he did this to me, I need to focus on what do I need to heal in myself to kind of make sure that I don't attract that.
Yeah, it's
Do you see what I'm
making
saying?
sense. I'm totally. It's like he did this. Honestly, I hope this word's not insulting, but it's like when you are in a victim
Yeah.
mentality,
Yes.
it feels powerless. And I'm not saying that people aren't victimized, they definitely are. But if you want to break that pattern, it's recognizing that you have the autonomy or the power to like make a choice to make the situation different. And honestly, have this like hopeful light switch of like, wait, I don't need to sit here and take this shit,
Yep.
you know?
Yep. Yeah, no, you actually hit the nail on the head. It's, yeah, the victim kind of mindset. I mean, it's really hard to get yourself out of that when it comes to especially relationships, because it's like what I went through in that relationship was like 0.01% of like, I'm sure what other women have faced in their relationships. But I think what really helped me was putting myself as like the main character and even trying to like look at it positively. And now I kind of look at it like, yeah, all these bad things sort of happen, but I would not be where I am today if that did not happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost see it as like I'm actually thankful because all these negative experiences resulted in me growing and learning and becoming a better person and knowing also what I want.
And having now found Chris.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
that relationship, it's like, would you be the version of you who is ready to receive that type of love, be attracted to that type of love, and make it work, you know? And when you were speaking just now, Monica, it reminded me of one of my favorite Oprah Winfrey quotes, which is when people show you who they are, believe them. And it's like, or
That gave me
she might even
chills.
say
Yeah.
believe them the first time, you know?
Mhm.
And it's so true, especially when you're like positive or you see the good in others. You're like, you know, you're always giving them another chance. And something I believe is always a second chance, never a third. I think people deserve this space to change and grow, but you don't need more than one more
Yeah.
opportunity to do that.
And I will say, some things are not forgivable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. No, there are sometimes you don't get a second
Yeah,
chance.
I don't get a second chance. And I think that was my problem because like that was the case with my previous relationship. And I did give him a second, a third, a fourth chance. And at some point in time, like I like kind of knew it wasn't working. And I think it kind of mimicked even my own parents. It's kind of like it was not working for years.
Yeah.
But they just kind of kept trying to make it work, making it work, making it work, making it work. But like they both wanted completely different things. And I think for me, the fundamentals of like a relationship, you can love someone all you want, but if you are not compatible, if you don't have similar values, if you don't have the similar goals, then that's not a relationship.
Yeah.
That's just, I would say, limerence, love, whatever it is. In order for me to actually say that I fully love someone, I now include like, are we compatible? All these like very like mind versus heart sort of like conversations. Like that's what I think about. To me, like love is more than just, oh, I'm so excited to wake up next to you today. It's like I'm so excited to build like a future together.
Yeah.
And like I'm so excited to have kids together. I'm so excited to work on more things than just like, I don't know, like our own jobs together, right?
Mhm.
It's like, to me, love is not just love. It's compatibility, it's values, it's respect.
Yeah.
And these are things I feel like people don't talk about enough, especially in social media, has reduced love to like some silly TikTok.
And you're right about that. Max and I had a lot of conversations about the future we wanted. Specific, how many vacations do we see ourselves going on? What kind of college do we plan to send our kids to? Do we plan to send them? Do we want to be able to pay for the college they go to?
Mhm.
Like, and then what does that mean about the jobs we need to have, the money we need to make?
Yep.
Especially, we have so many conversations now about like buying a home together and like the finances of that. And we both have to want the same things. And, even things like I got a new car about a year ago, and like that's a big purchase you talk about with your partner. And I think that when we look back at our parents' generations, and especially the generation above that, that didn't happen. You were just
Mhm.
like compatible in the town. It's time for her to have kids. It's time for him to get a wife, and they get married.
Mhm.
And now someone needs to fact check me, but I believe the divorce rate's actually going down
Mhm.
because I think people are waiting longer to get
Married,
married. So they're
yeah.
being more sure about that choice. That's something I saw. I need to be fact checked. But I think it's really great that you guys are having obviously those conversations and being really intentional about the decision.
Yeah, and I think it's really important. I feel like I don't take marriage lightly. My parents got divorced, but that's not something that I ever want to think about. I really do feel like Chris and I worked through a lot of things. Like it's not always perfect, right? But we have always worked through any issue we have. And I think the best part is that we're always in alignment. Like we're never really like butting heads. And I feel like we really do know each other, and we're only going to know each other more as like the years go on. And
Yeah.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah. You've been talking and sharing more about obviously the Indian culture and your family. I'm curious, in the beauty industry, what's that been like for you to really break through in such a powerful way and also try to be like a catalyst for change and greater representation?
Like what do you mean by like in the beauty industry?
With makeup, obviously, we see not as many inclusive colors and not
Mhm.
as many inclusive shades. And I know you've talked about that in your videos before, and even creating this beautiful red lip combo that you worked on, feeling like the reds weren't right for you or your skin
Mhm.
tone. I would just love to hear more about maybe growing up and falling in love with makeup and having those realizations and how that made you feel.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my kind of story with beauty in general, I feel like starts like for most girls around like 10 or 11. I was like, oh, well, around puberty time, 11, 12, I was like really breaking out. And no one in my family had acne. Like my mom doesn't have acne prone skin. My sister has the clearest skin like ever. My dad didn't even know what like a pimple was. Like literally like where did this come from? And I was the only one in the whole family who had to deal with this. So naturally my mom put me try like she didn't know, I didn't know, and back then like everyone loved like Proactive and like all these really
Oh my
harsh
God, that's a
drying.
throwback. Remember those commercials?
Right,
Did
yeah.
they have a song or something?
Yeah, I don't, I think they did, but I'm not remembering what it
Wait,
was.
Proactive, where are they?
Yeah,
Are they still a
gone.
company?
I think I hope they're gone. That was like the
The
worst stuff
the
ever.
ads used to play when I would watch Degrassi.
Yeah,
Then the
yeah,
commercials would be
yeah.
Proactive. Wow, that's a throwback. Sorry,
I
keep
know.
going,
No, no, no,
Monica.
no. I know it is a throwback. It is a crazy and that ruined my skin more, which is the hard part. Like that, and I had to deal with that going to school. And not only that, like as someone with darker skin, like I also pigment easily. So it wasn't just acne. I was dealing with dark spots, hyperpigmentation, and I had no clue like what to do. So naturally, I was like, let me go cover it up, because at least with makeup when I was growing up, for me was like a way to like feel more confident in like myself. I think the only downside of that is that like I didn't feel confident without it. Right. But at the same time, like I felt there was something empowering, like just putting it on, even though it was kind of a mask. It was like I was felt really insecure. Like my parents were like not happy from like the longest time, so they were always fighting growing up, and I felt like beauty and makeup was kind of an escape. The art of putting it on was my escape, but the actual wearing of it was like me trying to hide like my insecurities. Also, the hard part was like I grew up as a swimmer and a water polo player. So I grew up with really deep skin. And a lot of times, like I was the darkest shade of foundation back then. And my dad has really dark skin and my mom has really fair skin. So my mom wearing makeup her whole life, I could not understand why a lot of her makeup and shades did not look good on me. That was like the whole like plight, I feel like, of my even page. My mom got to wear all these like punchy, beautiful, bold colors. And then when I put it on, I would just look so gray, or I wouldn't feel seen, if that makes sense. And now understanding color theory, it's very obvious, like to me, like why that's the case. But when you're like 12, you're like, I wish I could wear my mom's favorite lipstick and look that good in it. I was the problem. Right. So I always leaned away from really like super bright, bold colors. I was always opting for the nude, or for something like where you would not really see me as much, because I was scared of like these like really bold, punchy colors. And on top of that, because had much deeper skin, I would go to all these like festivals and parties, and people would tell my mom that like, oh, that color looks bad on her, or like to stop wearing things. And I feel like it's unfortunate that like a lot of South Asian culture, a lot of times like people just tell you kind of what to do. And when you're
There's no
that
filter.
young, yeah, there's no filter. Yeah. And when you're that young, you just kind of like say, okay, or okay, auntie, okay, mom, that's okay. And then you just kind of take it. And I feel like I grew up with that attitude of like, I'm just going to do what people tell me to what to do. And the hardest part about that is like you develop lack of decision making skills. So
Mm-hmm.
I was the most indecisive human being like ever, until like 5 years ago when I started going to therapy and I started to take agency over my life, because everyone just made decisions for me. It's
It's
like,
crazy to think that that is how it used to be, because obviously when we started this episode, you're like, these are my non-negotiables.
yeah,
I'm not breaking this. You're not coming. You're not bringing your kids.
yeah, no, that I
But it's
know.
hopeful for people listening to be like, change is possible.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. And I feel like also what's interesting is like the more decisive you are, the more decisive you get. It's almost like you have to practice being
Yeah.
decisive. Like you just have to pick something, you stand by it, and you face the repercussions, even if it's the wrong decision.
So true. I've really been thinking about this a lot, because I realize that I'm someone who's been taking in way too many opinions and having a problem in front of me. And then my first thought is, let me go ask,
Mhm,
not can I just make this choice? It's
mhm.
actually been something Max and I, speaking of marriage and conflict and working through things, he brought up to me the other day, was like, hey, I don't want to have a future where like us as a couple are not making decisions.
Mhm.
And it's like, you have to hear from your mom, your dad,
Yeah.
your best friend,
Mhm.
your sister-in-law, and then come back and tell me, yeah, we can do this as a couple. And I'm like, you're right, that would suck. But I want to do the best
So,
thing possible. So
so
I want to get all the options.
So are you part Asian, South Asian by chance? I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Because that's literally like the plight of a lot of South Asian women. I obviously cannot speak, and I do not speak for all brown girls. I think everyone has like their own story, but I feel like a lot of South Asian women in general kind of have that issue where it's like people just tell you what to do. So, but then the problem with being told what to do is you can't make a decision yourself. So I really, really strive, and I tried to work on that in my 20s. And I feel like I'm at a place where I can make decisions. I will say, like, sometimes, like, on that trip when I was in India with my mom, I did slightly revert back to like asking, like, oh, what do you think of this? And I think there's nothing wrong with having some opinions, but the opinion that matters the most is the one you have. That's kind of like what I learned, even kind of going back to like beauty, going on this like whole like a bridal makeup journey, like, which is, again, a lot of people had quite a few opinions on, but I wanted to do my own makeup for my wedding. And being like a beauty girl, I feel like I knew that like it would not be easy, but at the same time I thought it would be a challenge. And I feel like when you are a beauty influencer, you're constantly kind of reviewing the same makeup, you're doing the same makeup looks, you have your makeup style. I wanted to really push myself out of my comfort zone and try something different, because bridal makeup isn't just about like, oh, it looks good, and like, no, it has to be long wearing, it has to be cry proof. It also has to look good on camera, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's trying to like figure out those variables, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Do you want your bridal makeup to be timeless, or because I know you obviously do a lot of fun, unique looks. So
Mhm.
I'm curious what your thoughts are.
I think I want it to be true to the culture. I am literally calling our wedding like a Indian, Irish, American 3-day fusion wedding. That's a mouthful. But that's exactly what I kind of wanted to represent. I want it to be true to like my Indian culture, and even as someone who is Hindu as well. And there's a lot of differences between like South and North India, but at the same time like modernized, because at I'm American. My parents came to the United States when they were in their 20s. So they've been here for a really, really long time. And that being said, we're still Indian, we're still Hindu, we're still Tamil, but at the same time, like I wanted to still represent like who I am. Timeless means something different to everyone. So
Mhm.
to me, it is timeless because I know like I'm gonna look back in 30 years and be like, that makeup look was gorgeous. But at the same time, like it's still very me. Like I'm wearing the glitter,
Yeah.
I'm wearing a really bold outfit, but the outfit that I'm wearing is also very traditional red. Like in Hindu culture, like in Indian culture, you wear like a red langa or red sari for your wedding. But because this is like also more of a fusion wedding, I opted for a langa because it's also easier to get in and out of rather than like a sari, because we have like 5 outfit changes and
Mhm.
we're trying to do things in like one day. So it was not enough time, but a lot of things to do, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you feeling stressed?
I would say I'm not stressed quite yet, also because we've been wedding planning for a while, and we do have a wedding planner, which has been really, really helpful. I am a little bit stressed, but I also do well under stress. Even like as someone who has like ADHD, like I need a little bit of like a to kind of like get things like really going. I would say I'm ready for it and
Yeah.
like up for like the challenge. We still have like a couple more things to do left, like do the table arrangements, which I'm not ready for that because I did now go back to my parents. But
Wait, we're getting close. You
I
get the
know.
table arrangements kind of takes time.
I
It's
know.
okay. Just delegate
I
that. Just
know.
decide where you want to sit and then like let them do the rest of whatever. Delegate it,
Yeah.
You mentioned before that you had high anxiety. Do you have any coping mechanisms or skills that you're working on so that you can manage yourself and your emotions on such a high pressure but exciting day?
Yeah, that's a really good question. My main thing with anxiety, if I feel myself catastrophizing, or usually for me, it's like almost like a really high heart rate and I'll start to sweat. For me, like the sweating and the heart rate is immediate signs like, okay, I need to calm down. And I feel like for me, being outside and taking deep breaths in slowly and taking a moment for myself, but within 5 to 10 minutes, I will kind of come back down to equilibrium again, usually. But it's taken a lot of self awareness and a lot of practice. And I think when I was first trying to cope with my anxiety and manage that, what I did is I would stop what I'm doing and I would go for a run, which might be a little crazy. And I know a lot of people can't do that. But living in San Francisco, like I'm a very much outdoorsy person. But I basically what I would do is I would cut the negative feedback loop and immediately, like it just has to stop there. And then I would switch tasks or switch doing something like as soon as I can
Yeah.
to kind of shock my system into being like, you're okay, like we're doing something else, like try to bring my nervous system down. And I think running for me back in San Francisco was like, first of all, it's beautiful, like, and I'm a very much an outdoorsy person, so just stepping out, getting fresh air, going for it could be like a 20-minute mile run, it does not matter, it could be a walk, something that cuts that negative feedback loop
Yeah.
and that catastrophizing, and just let it go. Anxiety is like, I want to be able to control everything, but I can't control everything. Like we've done the best we can with the wedding. We got the wedding planner. I asked all 6 parents like what they want for the wedding day itself. We put a lot of planning, we put a lot of work, we put a lot of effort into it. Like I really want to make sure that like everything is teed up with like my family and everything. So
Right.
I feel like we put in a lot of effort, and I think there's
Yeah.
only so much you could do.
You have to just trust at that point. Trust yourself and the
Yeah.
decisions you made. And the cutting the feedback loop is so true. I had that the other day. It was, I think, 2 days ago, and I was just like starting to get mopey, and I was like, oh, I'm lonely and I have this problem and that problem. And I was like getting really down. And I was like, Victoria, I'm like, you have to snap out of it. And I literally pulled up my phone and I was like, mindset switch. Like, I love my job. I love where I live. I have the best husband. My friends are there for me if I reach for support. You know what I mean? Like, it is so true. Speaking of narrative therapy, we can tell ourselves different stories. And the story you tell yourself every day is so powerful. And if we're not in the driver's seat of that, I feel like the default is the ego and like the evil creatures in our brain, they have more fun spinning the negative one.
Mhm.
So you have to stop and redirect. I totally agree.
Yeah, and I think that's the hardest part, but the most important part. And you kind of have to practice it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Out of
Definitely.
curiosity, for your wedding, how was like your anxiety levels?
At my actual wedding, my ceremony was the most present I've ever been in my life. And I'm so grateful for that. Like literally 43 minutes, I was holding Max's hands. I did not have a thought that was outside of that moment. I feel so grateful. Obviously, the minute that the ceremony was over, I went monkey brain. And like as I broke this down with my therapist and was like, I was thinking a lot and like I couldn't eat my dinner. I was like having so much fun, but I was the center of attention and that can be
Mhm.
really overwhelming too. It's fun, but it's overwhelming. And she was like, obviously, she was like, you're not like the Buddha. Like if you were present for 40 minutes, like obviously your brain is not going to sustain that and you're going to go in and out of being really present and then
Mhm.
thinking a lot and feeling out of it and then feeling in it. I think people always have said my wedding was the best day of my life. And that statement comes with pressure because you're like, oh my God, I want to be able to say that about my day. I can say that my ceremony was the best 45 minutes of my life. Was that day the best day of my life? It's up there. That just feels like a crazy thing to say because I've had some beautiful days and that I love that are just me and Max on the couch doing nothing too.
Mhm.
So like, I think once again, the stories, the labels, the trying to like make something perfect and put it into this thing. I just don't think we need to do it. I always try to remind myself, just experience the moment. We had an experience. We don't need to label it. We don't need to judge it. And that helps me.
I definitely agree with that. And it's funny because I feel like people have been asking, "Are you excited for the best weekend or best day of your life?" And I guess for me, like even when I was starting the wedding plan, I didn't think about it that way. I thought of it like, "Oh, this is like the start of like our future together."
Mm-hmm.
So I almost saw it like the start of something new rather than the best day of my life because I agree. I feel like when you put that much pressure on it being the best day of your life, it probably will not be. And I also feel like it should not discredit the times that are equally as awesome or amazing. And I feel like this idea of perfection too is not real. Like even kind of like going back to like the beauty side of things, like we were talking about like the red lipstick and like the way this progression of like the wedding makeup. Like I went on the search for like the perfect red lip, right? And I think the interesting part of it like is as I kept trying on more and more and more and more red lipsticks, I think what I realized is that the marketing messaging of all these lipsticks was that they claim to be the universal red lipstick, the perfect red lipstick for everyone, right? Like when makeup is not one size fit all. And this entire series was about how there's no such thing as like everyone's perfect red lipstick. There's only like the perfect red lipstick for you or the
Mm-hmm.
perfect shade for you. Because growing up, my mom would wear MAC Russian red. And in my family and in even Indian culture, like a lot of women do wear red lipstick. It's very common. And my mom was like dead set about the shade. She probably went through hundreds of bullets of this dang MAC Russian red. And I hated it. Every time I put that on, I felt like a clown and it just never looked good on me. Even when she told me that it looked good on me, I would
Mm-hmm.
always be like, "No, this looks
The
horrendous
red
on
you're
me."
wearing now is
Yeah.
insanely perfect for
Thank
you.
you. Yeah.
And that's your collab, right?
Yeah.
No, it's literally
Yeah.
incredible.
Thank
I
you.
like if I focus on your lips, I'm like they're red, but then if I'm looking at your eyes, it's just like it's perfect.
Yeah, and I think that that's kind of like the power. But what I really appreciated like with my mom is that it wasn't just like red lipstick for her. For her, it was like a defying moment, her defiance against like the beauty standard, against what people told her. My mom is a very bold extra woman and I feel like a lot of people did make fun of her for that as I was growing up, but she wore it boldly, she wore it proudly, and she wore it as her statement, as her way of being like, I'm the boss. You don't tell me what to do. I tell you what to do. And I think it gave her the confidence. I didn't like her red lipstick, but I dreamed one day to kind of find a lipstick that made me feel like the way that she felt. And doing this entire perfect red lip search, I actually do feel that way now with the shade that I've made with Mob Beauty. That being said, do I say it's like everyone's perfect red lip? Absolutely not. The entire purpose of the series was that there's no such thing as like everyone's perfect red lip. Universal makeup doesn't exist. And the fact that there's so many brands nowadays that still market their makeup as universal or works on every skin tone is a scam. And this might be really harsh, but should be an FTC violation at this point, because
False advertising.
it's false advertising. Exactly. Like, just by the nature of color theory, if you and I wear the same shade of lipstick, it's going to look different. And that's normal. That's relative contrast.
I love when they have all of the forearms and you
Mhm.
can see the same color through like 5 different shades of skin.
Mhm.
And then you can find the one that you think is closest to you and then compare it to the other one. Like, I love that they're doing that now. Well, Monica, this was so much fun. I'm so excited for your wedding. Now, I already was invested, but now I'm extra invested in the content. I'm going to be like, oh, that's what she was talking about here and there. And I feel like this was just really inspiring to just be in your power, make your choices, set your boundaries, know your limitations, stand by them, have your own back, find a good partner, drop the toxic ex, so many things. So thank you so much. I hope you had a good time.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, this is really awesome.